Hi, everyone, and welcome to Drinking Water 101, an introduction to River Network's Drinking Water Guide. My name is Sheyda Esnaashari, and I'm the Drinking Water Program Manager at River Network. This series will walk you through our Drinking Water Guide, a resource for advocates, highlighting the key pieces of information and questions to ask to understand your drinking water system from the source all the way to the tap. This session will focus on the question, what does drinking water cost and what is my water bill paying for? In this session, we will cover the cost of water delivery, including the cost of water infrastructure that delivers your water, and how water rates are developed, including the issue of water affordability and subsequent water shutoffs. We'll then go into key questions to ask to begin to better understand the cost of your own water. In many communities in the United States, drinking water is paradoxically both underpriced and unaffordable. The cost of collection, treating, and distributing clean and safe drinking water is expensive. There are several items to consider when thinking about the cost of delivering clean and safe water to a consumer. The first category of costs, known as capital costs, include the physical infrastructure needed to deliver water. Capital costs include things like constructing and replacing infrastructure for capturing water from surface water or groundwater sources, constructing and replacing treatment and distribution infrastructure, such as intakes, pumps, valves, and storage tanks, as well as all of the equipment associated with managing the water system. Capital costs can also include the purchase of land or permanent conservation easements to protect the system's source water. As outlined in Section 1 of this series, source water protection is an essential step in ensuring clean and safe drinking water. The second category of costs to consider is operations and maintenance. Operations and maintenance costs include water quality monitoring of the system's source water treatment itself, water storage and pumping water from the treatment plant to the consumer, and the overall inspection and maintenance of the water system's infrastructure to ensure it is capable of continually delivering clean and safe water to the consumer without disruption. Water distribution must be managed by a team of staff overseeing the operations and maintenance of the water system. The cost of employing the technical and managerial staff needed to cover everything from monitoring, reporting, record keeping, and other activities to keep the water system in compliance with state and federal regulations and ensure consistent water distribution to consumers is all factored into operations and maintenance costs. The necessary infrastructure for delivering water to the consumer is often costly, and many water systems are finding it more and more difficult to come by the funding needed to maintain or upgrade their aging infrastructure. The American Water Works Association, an association of water utilities across the United States, estimates that $1 trillion is needed to maintain and expand service to meet drinking water demands over the next 25 years. The cost of implementing these major infrastructure upgrades must be balanced by water systems against their current revenue and funding streams, and the portion that will be put back onto the ratepayer, in some cases leading to higher water bills for consumers. To give you a sense of the state of our water infrastructure, the American Society of Civil Engineers produces a report card on the state of infrastructure in the US every 4 years. The most recent report card in 2017 gave the nation's drinking water infrastructure a D and outlined several recommendations to raise the grade, including exploring innovative approaches to water funding and financing. The issues related to our water infrastructure are due to the fact that much of this infrastructure, such as the pipes that carry our water underground to your faucet, was installed in the mid-20th century with an expected lifespan of 75 to 100 years. Much of infrastructure is due for replacement at a time when federal investment in public goods is waning. State and local budgets are tight, and income levels have not kept pace with the cost of many of our goods. This can cause issues like leaky pipes, resulting in higher water bills, as well as concerns about the ability of maintaining the safety of our drinking water. The primary sources of funding for a water system, including both capital costs such as the infrastructure or physical equipment and operations and maintenance costs, include federal programs like the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, also known as an SRF, municipal bonds and other grants, and revenue from ratepayers or the income received from consumers paying their water bills. The majority of funding often comes from ratepayers, meaning that water bills have become higher in an attempt to accommodate the needs of the water system's cost of operating. However, across the nation, water rates and rate structures vary widely, with the national average being around $40 a month for a consumer. We know that some communities, however, pay a much higher rate, and affordability remains a concern for many. Communities with growing populations and economies may have more opportunities to get ahead of financial shortfalls, though serving a growing population comes with its own challenges and costs. Communities with declining or shifting populations and economies, or contaminated or stressed water sources, face an uphill battle in maintaining a steady and significant enough supply of funding via water bills to maintain both their capital and operations and maintenance costs. Outside of ratepayer dollars, the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund is a common source of funding for water systems. Authorized under the Safe Drinking Water Act, Congress authorizes funds to the EPA to administer this program. States then use these EPA-administered grants to provide assistance for water system capital improvement projects, such as infrastructure maintenance and upgrades. States must provide a 20% match for their federal grant each year, meaning they must contribute at least 20% of the grant amount toward the overall project budget. Principal repayments and interest from previous loans, and in some instances, bond proceeds, feed back into each state's loan fund, which is why it is named a revolving loan fund, as assistance is perpetually revolving with new projects to support a pool for local borrowers. Up to 31% of federal grants may be used for technical assistance rather than the capital or infrastructure investment itself. This includes things like 2% being available for small water systems, 4% is available for program administration and technical assistance, 10% is available for state program management, and then 15% is available for local assistance and other state programs. This program also includes additional flexibilities not covered here to allow states to prioritize and meet the needs of small and disadvantaged water systems. It is essential that infrastructure investments are made in a way that provides equitable benefits across communities. River Network partner and network member PolicyLink outlines several key considerations to ensure infrastructure investments are equitable across and within communities, including development and commitment to infrastructure equity principles and resident engagement, and capacity building to ensure community control. For more information on water funding and financing options and how to be an advocate for equitable water infrastructure investment in your own community, River Network will be releasing an Equitable Water Infrastructure Toolkit in spring of 2021. This will be a detailed resource on options for funding and financing water infrastructure improvements with an eye toward equity, including a section on water affordability and rate structuring. Water systems use a range of approaches to charge for water. Rate structures should recover the full cost of providing water service to their customers. In general, a water system will use a different rate structure depending on the type of customer. For example, a residential customer will usually pay a different rate for their water than a commercial or industrial user. Here we've listed a few different types of water rate structures, which water systems can use individually or in combination. Some examples include a uniform rate, meaning all customers are charged the same rate for the same amount of water. Increasing block rates, meaning an initial block of water usage is charged at one unit price while the successive blocks of water usage are charged at increasing unit prices, making it more expensive to use more water. And budget-based rates, meaning a household is given a water budget based on their anticipated needs, usually based on the number of household members or property size. Additionally, water rates can be applied temporarily in emergency situations, such as climates that experience extreme drought. Increased water rates can be used in these situations to reduce water use and preserve the limited supply of water. How water rates are determined or set depends on where you live and the approach of the body responsible for developing and setting water rates and the needs they are considering. Rates can also be set for varying amounts of time, impacting the ultimate rate you see on your bill. For many water systems, rate increases must be approved by local authorities that hold public meetings to obtain community input as part of the process. In the case of investor-owned public water systems and publicly owned water systems in some states, all rate increases must be approved by the state's Public Utility Commission along with community input. For privately owned water systems, consideration of return on investment for shareholders and owners is considered, which can in turn cause rate increases. Rate setting, and in particular raising rates, is an inherently political issue which can have both positive and negative effects on water systems and the customers they serve. Advocates and community members can play an important role in balancing political considerations with the public health, economic, and environmental needs of the community and supporting rate structures and rates that address all needs. As we've seen over the last several years, water affordability has become a serious issue across the country. For the purpose of this guide, we use the Pacific Institute's definition of water affordability. The cost of essential water and sanitation should be inexpensive enough that cost does not prevent access nor interfere with other essential expenditures. On average, as a percentage of household income, US households pay less for water than other developed countries. This in turn contributes to a perception for many that water is readily available and services are inexpensive. However, this is highly dependent on income, and we know that for many living in lower income communities, the burden of water bills may be much higher. Access to reliable, safe water is essential for public health and safety and maintaining an adequate standard of living. Just as there is no single definition of water affordability, there is also no singular approach to measuring it. Many utilize the median household income of a census tract or a community and use the threshold of 2.5%, meaning if your water bill is above 2.5% of the median household income for your community, your water may be deemed unaffordable. This, however, is a general metric used that may not accurately capture the impacts of a bill on any given household. And the approach was originally developed to measure the financial capability of an entire community to pay for infrastructure investments, rather than the individual or neighborhood level. Other common metrics used to measure affordability include poverty levels, unemployment rates, and percentage of individuals receiving other federal benefits, such as welfare assistance programs like SNAP. There's a lot of work being done to explore more accurate ways of measuring water affordability, including consideration of disposable income and hours of labor at minimum wage jobs needed to cover a household's water bill for any given community. For now, water affordability is an entirely local endeavor, as there is no federal assistance program for water bills in the same way there are for other utilities, such as the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, also known as LIHEAP, for heating and electric bills. Consumer assistance programs are one approach to addressing issues of affordability, which allow customers to receive bill discounts, enroll in payment plans, or other assistance if they are unable to pay their bill. In some instances, these can be subsidized by other ratepayers' funds. In some instances, communities are redesigning rate structures altogether to incorporate affordability considerations. For example, Philadelphia instituted the first of its kind tiered assistance program tied to pre-tax income levels that meet federal poverty guidelines. In this case, a household with an income at 0 to 50% of the federal poverty line will pay 2% of their monthly income for their water bill, while households at incomes at 51 to 100% of the federal poverty line will only pay 2.5% of their monthly income on their water bill. In either case, it is important to understand the difference between affordability and assistance. While assistance provides support for customers in mostly short-term or emergency situations of need, affordability measures attempt to address the broader issue of the cost of water relative to income at its root and for the long term, ensuring all people have uninterrupted access to running water in their homes. In many locations, utilities use water shutoffs as a repercussion for issues of late or non-payment by a ratepayer. However, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, many states and cities implemented water shutoff moratoriums for varying lengths of time, including the city of Detroit, which ultimately decided to extend its moratorium until 2022 with the hope of making this a permanent solution. At the crux of this issue is water affordability. Utilities depend on revenues from ratepayers to sustain their operations, while customers depend on affordable rates to maintain on time and in full payments. This is why it is essential for utilities and communities to work in partnership to find solutions that meet their mutual needs, continued service of clean and safe water. To better understand the needs and opportunities in your community, some key questions to ask include, can I understand my water bill? Does my water system have infrastructure upgrade and replacement needs? What is my water system's plan for funding those infrastructure upgrades and replacements? Does my water system have a water loss audit program in place? And what rate structure is currently used in my community? Getting to know your own water system is the first step in advocating for equitable access to clean and safe and affordable water for all. We hope you found this training useful. Thanks for tuning in.